I've got my chair just close enough for it to hear me without me moving backwards.
Yeah, we're recording.
Ah, nice.
Yes. I wonder how many of you viewers were expecting this.
We
It's
have.
been a while since I've done one of
It's
these.
been a very long time.
Yeah, this is another behind the scenes with myself and himself over there. The
Yo.
two admins of the Tats team.
Yeah, we just recently got those too.
Yeah. I think things have changed a lot. And for those of you who
Yeah.
follow Tats Top videos, will know that we did a video recently of the top 10 strangest racing games.
It was a trip. It was a freaking trip.
Considering that about, I think it was 6 or 7 of the videos came from me, it was a
Yeah.
trip. And
Well, yeah.
I've got 4 of them here. One of them, which was provided by my compatriot.
Oh boy, and boy, did I lose sleep over that one.
Yeah, we'll get to
We'll
that
get there
one.
when it gets there.
Yeah, well, I've called this the quad damage of racing, because there's 4 games in this. Azul only knows of the one he presented, and of course Uniracers.
Which is the one that we're starting right now.
Yes, I haven't started the video yet, but yes, we're starting with Uniracers, and there is 2 more after this, and then there's
That's the one I did.
the one that Azul has done, which isn't the full video. It's just the 5-minute one that we did for the submission, but that's
Yeah.
fine. So this is
Show you.
Uniracers. How much do you know about Uniracers?
I know that. So this was an interesting one because Pixar sued the
Mm-hmm.
company that did this
I'll
because,
just start the video.
yeah, go ahead. One of the things that looked a little too similar to an actual trademarked, or sorry, copyrighted character that Pixar owned.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe the franchise was, I think it was Red Dream.
Probably.
I think it was it was basically a sentient unicycle, and Pixar successfully sued the developers, and it got the game recalled.
Yes, it was pulled from shelves. So this game is really hard to get a hold of because not very many.
300,000 copies were sold, and
Yeah.
for like a game, that's not a lot.
No, not for because N64 games were sold massively at the time.
Yes. Well, I mean, this is a SNES game.
Oh, is this a SNES game? I thought it was 64.
No, this is indeed a SNES game.
Oh, yep, yeah, this is SNES. But yeah, that's the whole thing is that, back in the day, you didn't have reviews right away. So you bought the game not knowing what you were getting, and they were all about the same price.
Yeah, there wasn't so much in the way of previews or demo copies or anything like that. It was a case of, if a game came out, you took the plunge and bought it.
The only exception to that were AAA games. Your Zeldas, your Metroids,
Yes.
those were the only games you actually got to get your previews and your trailers. And even then, the trailers and previews didn't really show much.
Mm-hmm. So yes, this is a curious game. There are no items. There are no power-ups. The only kind of power-up that you have is if you successfully perform a stunt and land it, you get a small speed boost.
I think you also mentioned when you were, because I remember when you were recording this, you were like, "Oh, the AI is awful in this game because it has a severe rubber banding issue."
The AI is a bit fiddly in this particular game. I don't think it necessarily has a rubber banding issue in this game anyway. But the AI is really it's really generic, but it can also be quite problematic in that it doesn't seem to make mistakes.
Yeah, I'm not particularly fond of perfect AI. There's a reason why games AI are not necessarily perfect. because you want a game to be, when you're a developer, you want a game to be challenging, but you want to keep your consumers still wanting to play the game.
Yes, because
so you have to make it challenging enough to play and give them that challenge, but also make it possible for them to beat it.
Well, at the end of the day, the whole point of a game is to be fun to play, and
Exactly.
it's not fun when the computer is beating the shit out of you.
Pretty much.
Unless you're playing Dark Souls.
Yeah, I'm guessing this was like a stunt stage. This was not.
Yeah, the way they worked this, because we saw it at the start of the game, at the start of the video, where they had the different, like, almost like the different cups, you could say, kind of like in Mario Kart, where you had like the snail, the hedgehog, the frog, and all that. And what that was is it just gives you like a set of courses, and it's usually about the same sort of thing for each one. There's like a drag race, a regular race, at least one stunt course, and a couple of other courses.
Yeah, you got lucky on that one.
Yeah, well, this was when I was still figuring out the controls.
Mike.
Yeah, apparently you can put like your own names into it, but I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to get it to work.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I kind of have a policy of I don't like to spend more time trying to figure out the games than the developers did putting effort into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not particular. If there is not much, if it requires me to have more effort to play a game than the developers did to make a game, it's really not a game for me.
Well, it also speaks to a game that has been poorly conceptualized. And there's one that is... actually, I think there's maybe two in this list. Or at least in this video that consist of that. Because...
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's... The problem is that when they make a game too difficult to... like, to get on its level, it's not fun. Because you're spending all of your time trying to figure out how to have the fun.
Well, and that's the thing, is they aren't considering what the gamer's gonna think. Basically, what I would call this game is a tax write-off, is what it is. They made the game, and they made money off of it. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this game this game in my mind looks more like a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Because it has rudimentary AI, it has a stunt system, it has a really basic racing setup. Like, it's a 2D racing track where you just hold left or right. There's no jump. There's the stunt system, but that's about it. Like,
yeah,
it's such a really basic system.
Well, and this is a premise that looks very similar to like the way the physics work is very similar to stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog, which has a much more. It has a similar like going fast. Obviously, it's not a racing game, but the movements and like the screen panning, it's very similar to Sonic.
Well, even the background, like
yeah,
looking at that, it does look like something that's straight out of like Sonic 3.
Exactly. And so, but the difference is Sonic had much more effort put into it, more thought. It's more consumer friendly, you know.
Well, it's also it also had actual gameplay to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and this game does not feel that.
Yeah, because the Gotta Go Fast in Sonic was the theme that it worked to, but it was still a platformer with challenges. This is just rolling around at the speed of sound.
Pretty funny.
Yes.
But
and yeah, there's just like, I must have played about like half an hour to an hour of this, and by the end of it, like I was like, I'm not having fun.
No, and that's exactly it. This is not fun.
Like,
there's not a semblance of a story, even for a racing game. But and this is a good example of the AI just being the AI.
Yeah. And you only face one AI, like. It's literally just a one-on-one.
And this is just, and that's the thing, is there's no semblance of fun. The backgrounds are pretty bland. Like, the Sonic franchise had better backgrounds. It's just, it's definitely a strange racing game, but it's also one of the most blandest strange racing games I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, it didn't rank too highly on the list compared to some of the things that we do have on there. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, we had like Garfield Racing on there, and that was just like one of the blandest of the bland that we have on the list, because it was just cookie cutter Mario Kart.
Yeah. I'm taking a guess that's not one of the ones we're covering.
No, that's not one of the ones we're covering on here. If I've got it right, the ones that we've got on here get progressively weirder.
Oh boy.
So this is just the entry level weirdness.
And it's borderline weird.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give it away. The last two were the top two entries.
Oh, yep, I figured that.
Yeah, so I think you know what the other one is going to be.
I know which. I know what the other one is. I figured that. I'm going to be honest. Before we even started this, I figured that was what it was going to be. Like, that was what was going to be on here.
Oh god, yeah. Like, there's a lot to be said about that one. There's a lot to be said about the last two, to be honest.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, this was on the SNES, so this was at a time when games like Sonic, Mario Kart, like those games existed. So there were solid 2D speed platformers, and there were solid racers at the time.
And that's the thing, and that's why I really think this was kind of a half-assed tax write-off, is because there's so little effort put into this. Yeah, they've got an AI, but they didn't take the time to see if the AI was too tough. It feels like this is one of those remember those Excitebike courses where you could just put things together to make your own race? This is what it feels like. It feels like a customized racing thing that has no thought into it.
No, I think this would have done better if this was like almost like a Mario Maker, but for like basic racing tracks.
Probably.
I mean, granted, at the time it would have been quite a tall order to have such a function. But
I'm not quite sure about that because of how Excitebike already had pulled that off almost 8-9 years before.
Yeah, that's true, to be honest. I think all I can guess is they were trying to sort of try something a bit different with the concept, because they've got effectively a unique character, which was sued by Pixar for not being unique.
Yeah.
They had it was a 2D racer with a unicycle that had stunt mechanics. That didn't exist at the time. Doesn't necessarily make it a good thing to have.
No.
And as you can see, the stunt mechanics are a bit fiddly, because you have to use the shoulder buttons and a couple of the other buttons to perform tricks.
Well, and that's where the creativity kind of dies. Creativity is great if you go all out. If you go and say this is going to be a creative concept, and not put the energy into anything else except for the concept, is it really creative?
I mean, the way I look at it is you can be creative, but if the end product is still flawed, then it's creativity for creativity's sake. Like, you could literally make a chocolate covered rocket ship. It's creative, but it won't go into space.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing, is that it's a creative idea. I mean, look at that background. It's literally just coloured squares.
Yeah, someone decided to open MS Paint.
Someone just discovered the shadow tool in a program.
It's just...
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's creative, but they haven't done anything with the creativity.
Yeah.
Like this literally. I mean, granted, yeah, it's from the SNES era, and looking back on it now, it does look like it really dated. But that's not the problem, because there are other games that looked dated and they were still really fun. I mean, like the original Star Fox looks like absolute garbage by today's standards, but it was superbly fun.
It was superbly fun. It was also one of the most creatively because of the mechanics that they used in it. I don't remember what it was called.
Was that Mode 7 or something?
Mode 7, yes. Where Mode 7 came in and made, the mode where the camera can focus straight down the screen instead of it just being a side scroller.
It makes something feel like a 3D game when it isn't.
Yeah, it added immersion. This is not doing it. And keep in mind, this game came out was trademarked in 1994, Union Racers.
Mm-hmm.
So we are bordering on the era of when the N64 was in the process of being made.
I wonder if they were trying to start a franchise.
If they were, it wasn't going to be successful. One, for the lawsuit, and two, for the fact that the Nintendo 64 was just on its way to, being a thing. Actually, when did the N64 come out? Give me a second.
I think it was it 1996? 97?
Nintendo 64 was released worldwide in bear with me, I'm working on it. 1996.
It always bewilders me when I look that up, because I remember when I got my N64, like way back when.
And yours didn't come out till 97, so.
And I keep thinking, am I the only one that feels like the N64 came out in like the early 2000s?
Well,
I mean, I know it didn't, but it's just...
It didn't, but that was when it really became a thing.
Yeah.
The early 2000s was when the N64 started getting nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think the best word is.
Well, I have the same thing with, like, quite a lot of consoles, actually, where I feel like that they came out much later than they actually did. And I don't know if that's just because I'm old.
Well, I mean, I always forget that the GameCube was actually mid-2000s.
I know.
It was around like 2010. No, that's when the Wii U came out.
Yeah, I know, and it still bewilders me today to think, because I remember when I got my GameCube, like, I was still in school at the time, and I had it on pre-order, and I got it with Luigi's Mansion. God, yeah, that was the good old days. You can tell when a game we've got on one of these is crap because we're talking about other games.
Well, and like, I was also, so keep in mind, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. God bless my mom. She got me and my brother. We got PlayStation 2s like 3 years after PlayStation 2s came out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And my mom had saved up a lot of money just for those. And you think you know it all about, like, how you feel about video games as a kid because you enjoy them so much, and then you realize you don't know anything about the amount of effort and time can be put into a game until you're an adult and you start really appreciating the things that are going around that they work on,
Mm-hmm. I think that's something we've both come to understand more as we've been working with the team. Like,
I'm sorry, did that level say Wario Paint?
Yes. Yeah, this one of the things in this game is they do reference a lot of other video game media.
Wow.
Yeah, it does make it just that tiny bit worse. They do have Sonic references in this.
That's surprisingly bold of them.
Well, I mean, I think they can get away with it because they're not using like actual characters.
No, but there's only so much you can do before something becomes
Yes.
trademark infringement.
Well, I think they can get away with using like the name, but I think if they were to just like have like the character Wario in there, yeah, that would like cause some serious problems.
Yeah. Hairpin Hill, Downer Croc. East.
Oh, that was interesting. I think my setup had a little bit of a brain fart there.
OBS?
I don't think it was OBS that had a problem. I think it was just. I think it was just my emulator
Yeah.
had a little bit of whoopsie.
Probably.
I mean, my modded SNES system.
I really don't think you're gonna get in trouble for this game. They are not making money
for
off it.
Uniracer of all things.
For Uniracer? Yeah, just Nintendo agents knocking on the door. What's the equivalent of the FBI in the
That'd be
the UK?
that's MI5, I think.
And I think isn't that CIA?
Might be Scotland Yard.
Okay, yeah, so it'd be like Scotland Yard's knocking on your door.
Emulator thieves, open up!
Now, that's like being an FBI agent for like for pirated videos. It's like your job sucks, you know it. You're like, I want to be hunting down the real criminals.
Yeah, and you just hunting down just like a 15-year-old kid who's just like playing a NES game.
Pretty much, right?
Like where the original development studio doesn't even exist anymore. And some of these we do run into those situations where just the studio just does not exist.
Yeah.
Oh, now
here we go.
Yeah. Now we're moving on to the next one. And now we move into the glorious N64 era.
Yeah, this was. So I watched a couple races of this before I watched your footage from when Tats was showing it off, and I have to say, we were actually having thoughts about whether or not this even counted as a racing game. At the end of the day, we decided it did, but barely.
Yeah, because like I looked through it I played through it quite a bit, and like you looked through it as well. It kind of looks more like a obstacle course thing, but there is like racing elements in it enough for it to make it a racing game.
Because the definition of a racing game doesn't necessarily have to be with cars or anything or vehicles.
Well, considering some of the things that we ended up with on our list, they weren't all like vehicle racers.
As we will see in the future.
Yes, especially one that had a very unique kind of vehicle. So yeah, this is based on Acclaim's iguana mascot.
Yeah.
That's the main character Iggy is actually I hate saying this, the bull form of Iggy the iguana.
Yeah. Nice job.
Yeah, I didn't quite realise that you could go down through the terrain.
Yeah, and then we've got this.
Yeah, so every time you win, and it only happens when you win, this scene plays out.
It's probably the most obnoxious cinematic I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then just one of them just flies
It's
at the
one
screen.
in the fourth place too.
Yeah.
So
it only happens when you win. Like, even if you lose, like it doesn't happen.
That's so dumb. I also noticed that this game, while simplistic enough, those effects probably burned the processor on the N64.
Well, the N64 did start to struggle with some of the things that were being asked of it in the much later days of its development. That's why I ended up having the expansion pack.
Yeah. I just want to point out the draw distance in this game is awful.
Yeah, it really is. And that background box is really crap as well.
Yeah, the skybox is awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
And you can see like the really old like water effects they used to put on games then.
3, 2, 1, go!
Like,
Freaking Bomberman 64 had better water effects.
yeah.
Ow. Yeah, and you could look. That's literally a skybox.
Yeah. Like, it's
Like,
literally just a static image. Well, actually, probably a couple of static images.
there's two static images
Yeah.
actually, because there's the because you can see the movement in the background.
Yeah.
Two static images back to back. One is the buildings, the other is the sky.
I think the thing that cracks me up as well is that there are certain points, I saw it just a bit earlier, where you can see lines across the skybox where the image is not quite right. And it's really jarring when you notice it.
Yeah.
Because they've obviously done it in segments, but they haven't quite lined up the segments properly.
Right there, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. And yeah, yes, I am playing a character that just looks like a very teethy version of Pac-Man.
Pretty much.
It's called Chatter.
Again, this is like these amount of colors would like melt a processor if you didn't have that expansion expansion pack.
Well, I mean, considering that the original N64 was, I think it was, what was it, like 16 meg or something?
3, 2, 1, go!
I don't know.
I can't remember. I mean, I know the expansion pack doubled it, and there was a fun story about that involving Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, because Donkey Kong 64 really killed that processor before.
Well, apparently, from what I've heard, when they were making it, there was a big old memory leak.
Yeah.
In the game, and that's why they had to package it with the expansion pack, because that was the only way they were able to fix it.
And there was still a lot of stuff that was broken with that game. I love it. It's a great game, in my opinion. But there was still a lot going on with that game.
Well, I mean, I think they were trying to be the next Mario 64. Because, I mean, even though Mario 64 was a launch title, it was ridiculously successful.
3, 2,
Yes.
1, go!
Like,
It had changed.
It was Mario's like big foray into 3D. It was a lot of people's big foray into 3D. And yes,
Yeah,
I just used the grapple hook to throw someone,
Oh yeah, no, that's fine.
and they can do it to you as well.
Do.
The AI in this game falls into kind of the same trap the Uniracers did. The AI, and this is on easy, like the AI is ridiculously difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it could also be that I'm just like crap at the game, because I saw it tends to be when I record these, I give it a brief test, like of about maybe 5 minutes, just to make sure it works, and then I play it.
Yeah.
And let's face it, like when we do these videos, especially with like in this sort of vein, we're not playing it to look good. Like we're playing it to show the game, and sometimes you can only show the game
off.
as a first-time player.
The only time that we ever need to look good is if it's required for a list. That is literally it.
It can usually be for things like boss fights and things like that, where usually we have to be good enough to be able to cheese a boss fight. It's kind of like when I did the Yellow Devil from Mega Man. I've played that so many times that I can do the fight without taking a hit using the Mega Buster.
Yeah, exactly. Another good example is if we're showing off, like, because I have a feeling that one day we're going to have this, if we did something like a list about special moves in video games, you know,
I'm
you need to
almost certain there's a list for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've got like hundreds and hundreds of lists.
Oh, yeah, no, like, there's a whole thing set up for that. Like, I have seen the thing that Tats has set up. It's amazing.
Oh, well, I mean, and have we been working on the channel now? What is it, like 3 years, 4 years?
3,
You and me, I came along a little after you did, so I would assume so.
Yeah.
Like I think you have like 6 months on me.
Yeah, something like that. It's not much.
No, and obviously we've done decent work because we're still here. So
cut to like 3 months time, and we've both been fired. It's like, hey people, so like behind the scenes, but it's like we're no longer part of the crew anymore, and
yeah.
someone from the team's gonna see this.
Oh, guaranteed, Tats is gonna watch this and go, "What the? Go,
what the hell are you talking about?"
But yeah, it's being on this team. It's probably one of my favorite. It's outside of the fact that I would have never, like 10 years ago, I would never expected this is where I would be.
No. Neither would I.
It also just comes down to the fact that we do put in a lot of hard work, and we are trying to make changes for the better.
Oh yeah, we've been working on like a whole host of like adjustments and changes like these days. I mean, we've got the mini series underway, which is where like this was part of one of the mini series that we did. This was the second one.
Second one.
Yeah, first one was the
Santa bosses was first.
The Santa bosses.
And it's just it's so. What keep in mind, like there's a lot of time between when research needs to be done and then ranking needs to be done for bigger lists because once research is done, it usually goes to script writers who do their own research and then they double check the research. We've got it goes to gameplay recorders and then to narrators, and then all of it is then put ranked and then by my team, and then it's put together in the video releases, but that takes time.
Yeah, these things, like, it's not a quick process. Like, getting these videos together, especially when we've got some of the bigger lists. Like, we've got one at the moment for the, like, disgusting foods, effectively.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a 45 list. Like, that takes time to get those videos together. And some of the games, like we have to do for that are really obscure ones. Like one of the ones I had to pick up, like we mentioned this like before the video started.
Yeah.
A little known game called like Eleanor, and it's like it's like an old PC game that later became a mobile game. It kind of looks like it was made on the RPG Maker engine. And
that makes too much sense.
Yeah, and it's like the controls are absolutely terrible. It's difficult as all hell. But those are the sort of games we end up with sometimes, just like some really obscure entries. Usually involves me working some magic on it.
Well, and that includes this list. Like, yeah, we all are aware of like Mario Kart clones, like Garfield Racer and
the
since
Shrek
it's
one
not
as well.
on here, Shrek. The Shrek was actually definitely on the more entertaining side of things. It's just things like this and Uni Racer and the two that are coming up. They are so obscure. Okay.
Yeah, just at this point you start getting access to some of the Mario Kart style power-ups.
Yeah.
That one was just like a helicopter power using the grapple hook.
And it also like cost you.
Yeah, it meant I couldn't proceed forwards because it was an obligatory boost section.
Yep. And it just, these obscure games. That's the other thing. That's what I like about this is when I first watched Tatstop videos, I saw games I never even heard of.
Yeah. Yeah, I had exactly the same experience. Like, especially when it was like some of the indie games that cropped up.
Indie, like scariest indie was like one of my first videos I watched.
Yeah, I remember I used to play those like on loop, just because I just used to just sit down and like enjoy listening to that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And so, with seeing things like this and being able to work on them, it's a really fun thing to do. Yeah, we suffer because like not all of these games are fun.
But we get some real corkers with some of these games.
Like one of the well-known things we're working on currently, it's not currently a list we have as a priority, but is one we are working on that we've talked about. Is we've been working on a worst games list.
Oh, yes.
We've that's gonna be an interesting process.
Oh god, yes. Like that's I mean, granted, I am leading the recorders, so I'm heavily involved in it anyway. But I've been heavily involved in that list since it first began. And I mean, Jesus Christ, some of the stuff that's on there.
I did research, and when I was doing research for it, I was looking at full walkthroughs to these awful games.
Yeah, and like there are some. There's someone there that people know, and then there's someone there that no one will ever know about. And it's probably for the best that no one knows about some of them.
And yet, we're going to be making a video on it, so...
Yeah, that's part of the fun. Right, it's kind of like, I'm looking forward to, like, doing some glitch ones, especially some of the glitches I found in the original TMNT.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
which,
I watched you do that.
Yeah, I know.
That was a weird shredder fight.
Oh god, yeah. Well, I mean, there was two big ones that happened to me. They were game-breaking glitches, and it was so funny. Like,
one was the shredder. Yeah, one was the shredder fight.
Yeah, because for some reason I'd killed Shredder, but he hadn't started his death animation and just stuck there. And I was like, well, I'm here now.
The other one, I think, was the Technodrome.
Yeah, because when you defeat the Technodrome, your turtle's supposed to run to the left and then leap into the Technodrome. But because I was standing on the treads and at low health, the game ran me straight to the to a damage box at the edge of the treads and killed me.
And it soft locked your game at the menu screen. Yeah,
because I wasn't supposed to have control of the game at that point, so it never returned control to me. And yeah, so that's what happens when you win.
Yeah. Again. Oh, by the way, there's Iggy the Iguana.
Yeah. He doesn't look very happy there.
No, he's second place. The thing about this is, at least this was a little more innovative than Uni Racers. There was a little more creativity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't put the entire video that I recorded into this because I recorded about an hour's worth.
Oh, I figured, and this is going to be like only an hour's worth of commentary over gameplay, so...
Yeah, I don't like to make these longer than an hour. I mean, granted, we could probably talk for like hours on end.
Oh yeah,
but
you and I have had like 4-hour conversations where we just don't stop.
Well, I mean, we've done these behind the scenes before, and we've gone over time.
Let's see.
So this is the battle mode.
3, 2, 1, go!
So I'm taking a wild guess. I'm taking a wild guess that this plays very similar to like Mario Kart's battle mode.
Yes. Even down to Mario Kart 64's. If you have like more than 2 players and you lose all your balloons, you turn into a bomb.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that happens in this as well.
Hey, bogus.
Yeah, this is just Iggy trying to be cool. Because apparently that... Yes, I won that battle. I don't know if I actually won any more. Because I found when I put more AIs into it, it became disgustingly difficult. I mean, I can see how this game would have been fun back in the day, because it's quite jam-packed. Like, there's a lot of courses in it.
Yeah.
And there's, like, the characters that you have, I think there's, like, 6 or 7, and there's, like, another 9 you can unlock. Like, there's a lot of play to have in this, but the controls are very fiddly. And it messes with your perspective because you feel like you're supposed to be going on a 3D plane, but you're not.
This is still completely 2D.
Yeah.
This is what's considered 2.5.
Yeah, it's literally... Your controls just go left and right, even though you feel like you're supposed to be adjusting that. And it takes a bit of a brain shift to get around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
And enter bomb mode, and then you can just roll around.
Yeah, you're literally just a bomb, and you get to just blow up once. Well, like I say, it's an interesting concept that they put together here. But I just think it could have done with being in the oven for a bit more.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a game that could have used some work. Maybe added a bit more of a story.
Yeah, I don't think there is a story in this one. I think it's literally just a case of here's some bouncy balls that is basically just renditions of some other characters, and that's about it, really. I mean, I just tend to call this Testicle Racer. I mean, it's just bouncy balls bouncing all over the place, like.
Oh, that's not a good look. Like 3 bombs sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, and again,
definitely not.
the disgustingly difficult AI comes into play again.
This is really like awful AI. Yep, there you go. I don't like the fact that if someone jumps on you, you take damage.
Yeah, you take damage that way. You take a bit of damage if you get grapple hooked. You obviously take damage if you get hit with things.
Well, I also noticed, like, depending on the action, you'll either do half a balloon of damage or you'll do a full balloon.
Yeah, it kind of varies. I didn't spend enough time to try and figure out all of it. Because let's face it, again, I spent about an hour playing this. I had all the footage I needed. Because one of the things I like to do, as you know, with a lot of these games, I try and get as much variety as I can. Just level variety, character variety.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can.
Mode variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bomb making that noise.
Oh yeah, no, I know this. And that's the thing, though, is there's only so much we can show off in a video, because our list requirements usually is by the end of it, it's 3 to 5 minutes of footage.
Well,
and then that's cut down.
Well, I have a standard of having 5 minutes of footage for a submission, and then it can just be cut down and chopped up as and when needed.
Yeah, for me, it's usually 3 to 5, depending on what I'm doing, because I cut down my footage for the one that I did, that we'll see at the end of this, to about 3 minutes 50, 3 minutes 40, because there's not much else I can do there. I literally showed off the whole game at that point, because there's just not much you can do.
Yeah, I kind of ran into that problem when I was doing Eleanor editing yesterday, where the only viable bit of footage was in the first 20 seconds, and the rest of it is just filler. So, but there's only so much you can do with that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
I'm trying to remember when I put the stop point in on this one.
Well, you said each video that you turned in, that you worked on, you cut this one down.
Oh yeah, I have a standard of, if I've got if I'm playing a game for a specific part or a specific element, I get half an hour to an hour's worth of footage.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a full for the worst games list, it's the full game itself. I tend to do either a full playthrough or maybe a couple of hours worth, because then I can cherry pick some of the worst elements out of it.
Exactly.
I mean, granted, some of the like NES games and whatnot, like when you blitz through those, they're only like 20 minutes long.
No, but then you've got like longer bad games. Like I don't want to give too many. I don't want to give any away because that is an upcoming list. But you get my point.
Yeah.
Is there are games that
I mean,
are
we can give one away, which is Ride to Hell Retribution.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
okay, yeah, that's obviously gonna be on the list.
Yeah, and
that's
that,
a full-fledged 8-hour game.
Yeah, that's a long-ass game, and there's no getting around that. And yeah, we're not gonna put like 8 hours worth of footage in there. Like we don't need to play the game for 8 hours to get that footage. But there are some key elements we can put in that will probably take a few hours to get.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We do have to get to a certain level.
Well, that's fine. Well, here at Tats Top Videos, we like to do things professionally.
Here at Tats Top Videos, we love doing stuff for you, but we hate ourselves when we have to do stuff like this.
Well, I mean, look at what I'm playing. I'm playing what is essentially, I can't believe I'm going to say this, a female testicle. That's a statement I said. And there's another one.
It's just this game is ridiculous. It is weird.
Yeah, like I think this was presented to Tats by someone. Because we do get people submitting their ideas for some of the lists.
Oh yeah, of course.
I think this was one of them.
It was because she ended up messaging me about it.
Yeah.
When it was first brought to her attention, and she asked me I believe she asked me if we should consider this as a racing game, and I'm like, it barely counts as one, but it's close enough.
Well, I mean, you can see from the footage here, like, it does have enough racing elements to classify as a racing game. It's just, like, on the cusp.
Very much on the cusp.
It's pretty much on the cusp of playability as well. I suppose at the time, like, this was still at the time when they were making new IPs.
Yeah.
Like, where everything wasn't just, like, Zelda 156 or, like, Metal Gear Solid Retirement Home.
We don't talk about Metal Gear. Yeah. It's just... N64 was the era of when games started really getting weird.
Well, it was the era when they started, like, branching into 3D.
Well, branching into 3D, but as well as the fact that we were starting to get more independent, what would be considered independent developers.
Well, yeah. Think about it. It would have been because I mean, whilst indie development did exist before the N64, it was more limited to garage creator sort of thing, where a person just has access to like an engine, and they put together like a text adventure or like the old point and click adventures. This is when they started getting like smaller companies starting to emerge again after the video game crash.
Yeah, because after
it was Atari's video game crash.
Yeah, after Atari's video game crash, hence why the Nintendo Entertainment, why it's called the Nintendo Entertainment System and not the Nintendo video game system, because it wasn't. They didn't want to make people think that they were going to bring video games back. They knew they weren't going to make money with those, so they called the Entertainment System and said it was more for entertainment than playing games. Clever ruse.
Yeah.
A clever ruse, but still a ruse nonetheless.
Well, I mean, it got people back into gaming again, because after Atari cocked up the whole franchise, the whole industry, people decided that video games weren't worth the money. But then Nintendo came over, rewrote the whole thing with the NES. Oh.
I think this is where the footage ended.
Is it moving over? Come on. Okay.
Are we stuck?
Am I? Are we stuck? I mean, the timer's still going.
Just
Yeah. So yes, this is the next one.
probably gonna want to cut that bit out.
Oh, I don't mind.
All right.
I might do that
Oh
later.
my gosh! Here we go.
Yeah. Now we're getting into like the really crazy shit. So yes,
You
let
wanna
me
try that
regale
again?
you the story of the zoo race. A
We're just gonna cut out like the 20 seconds of shit
yeah,
hitting
yeah,
the
just
fan.
cut. Just we don't talk about that bit. um, yeah, I accidentally pressed escape in the game and it closed the game. So the story here is Hannah, who was a teacher, was having a conversation with one of her friends who believed the story of Noah's Ark, and Hannah was basically making fun of them.
Yeah.
Then she fell asleep, and in her dreams, herself and her friends were turned into animals, and then Noah had built some racetracks for them to race across, and Noah's underlings decided to put some traps on the tracks.
As said in the Bible.
That's the plot of this, if you can call it, game.
And now, with the thought of that, and keep in mind, Christian here myself, just not hardcore Christian.
Yeah.
This was made by a Christian company, despite the fact you would think otherwise from. If you would think otherwise, because of the fact that this seems like the most. I don't want to say the word blasphemous, just out of this world idea for a biblical video game.
Yes, and the funny thing is, like, there's a few funny things about this. On the website, it has when it has a story, it actually has like Bible verses in there. There are Bible verses in this game, which obviously I haven't put in.
No, because this is less about us talking about religion and more about just talking about this game.
Yeah, and it's.
By the way, there is no hill leading up to that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have no idea what went on there. Apparently, if you land on those hurdles, it just sends you into the air.
It's just weird.
And this is controlled with the arrow keys.
Which, and that's a thing for me. Is I am not fond of games that require you to use racing games specifically that require you to use PC controls.
Cutscene.
The heck?
Bye, pig.
Oh, and are we gonna just not talk about the pirate ship that we just passed by?
I know, yeah. And then we've got like this.
God. There is so much that
I know.
Make a church shake its head and go, "This is no."
Yeah,
I just want to point out,
voice.
sarcophagi were this is is so wrong, and
I know. There's so much wrong with this that it's hard to know where to start. And like I think this made first place.
you probably did. It already looks like you're Zoo Race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made first place.
Yeah.
It made first place, and the one after this made second.
Which, after seeing what made second place,
it was close.
I mean, when I did the ranking on this one, we had to have a vote.
Yeah, I'm guessing it tied.
Well, yeah, because it tied for first with the other one, and we had to have a vote on which one we thought was weirder.
Yeah.
And
keep in mind, I actually took a month break to deal with my own personal issues, so I left. I had asked Blacken to do my job, take over for my job for just that month.
Yeah,
And
I was more than happy to do that.
oh yeah, no, there's a reason why I consider you my second for research,
Mm-hmm.
because you definitely have helped me out in the past, and I know it's been vice versa for
Yeah.
you as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, many a time that you've come through with recording projects as well as just
Mhm.
organisational purposes. Like
Apple.
between us, like we've made a lot happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot has.
Is this
A lot.
religious?
I'm not sure. I have seen Egyptian symbols, Christian. Like I've seen
And there's
a lot of
Noah.
Egyptian.
Congratulations, Hannah the horse.
A very sounds like a very stoned Noah.
It's a very tall Noah. Is this a replay function? Oh, please don't tell me that's a replay function.
No, no, no.
Oh, no, what the?
This is what happens when you win a race.
Is that Noah?
Yep. So I don't know if I show all of it in this particular rendition, because I think it was when I was playing as the tiger I showed it all. He's run into the celebration ceremony.
Noah's Adventure 2? When was Noah's Adventure 1?
I don't know. I really I think the thing that this made us both laugh ridiculously when we found this out.
Avoid the obstacles. You
Yeah.
know, the barracuda with the I love God balloon. This is sending mixed signals.
I think the thing that made us laugh the most when we looked this over again was the fact that they have a merch store.
Oh yes, I remember that. I
And
looked
it's
at the
still
merch store.
going.
It's still there.
It's so ridiculous that this has a merch store.
Well, and I looked at the. And I've looked at the company. I'm not gonna shit on Christian companies any more than I'm gonna shit on any other company. It's just this was specifically as a game, not a great game.
No. I mean, you just got to look at every element of it. Like graphically, it is garbage. It looks
Absolutely.
like absolute trash. That's just a yellow slide there. The water in it looks terrible. Many of the elements look terrible. The character animations is so janky. The controls are
There has to be
terrible.
effort put in. And I'll give you a good example of a Christian game that did work, and there was a game that ripped off Doom basically.
Yes, I know this one.
But it was a functional game.
Yes. Honestly, I can respect games like that. Even if they have a message they're trying to convey. If it's a well-crafted game, I can accept that.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, people could say that the Captain Planet game was pushing a message of environmental mindfulness.
Yeah, but it was still a bad game.
Oh yeah, but the point is that it was a functional game compared to this.
This is not a this is an example of a game that is completely not functional.
Yeah, I got a bit lost
Cheap!
there. Yeah. So
Well, I can understand why you got lost. The tunnel is the exact same going in.
Yeah, it's the same color. If you just don't go the right way, you're liable to miss it.
Yeah, it's.
Oh yeah, bats.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just figuring out where I need to go. Dead end.
Dead end.
And here's another element I didn't like about this, because they gave each of the animals stats like speed, strength for going through obstacles, and then you have the swimming stat, where you can have some that swim better than others. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well maybe that could be useful for shortcuts. But then you have this, where it's an obligatory long swimming section.
At least you're winning.
Well, that's because I chose a character that had good swimming.
Oh, that's true.
And there's a lot of tracks that have long obligatory swimming sections. So it's they've artificially made characters bad or good,
Yeah,
and that's just bad balancing.
it really is, and it's unfortunate that it is.
I think a lot of people know about this game because Markiplier played it once.
Yeah, I would assume any
Yeah.
Markiplier. Oh, there's Noah.
Yep.
Hmm,
Shalom.
I didn't know Noah had stoplights.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently he has stoplights on his arc as well. Yeah. Every time you win a race, this crops up.
And and again, it really just comes down to, I don't care if you make a Christian game, but
Just
if you're
make a
gonna make
good
a
one.
game, put some effort into it.
Select creature.
That's just really what it comes down to. I appreciate effort.
Yeah. I mean, even if a game doesn't end up working out, I can appreciate like genuine creative effort.
Oh yeah.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
it's just
Is that a?
Yeah, that's a rocket.
Uh-huh.
You get to ride on that.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I'm looking at the timer there. We're probably got about another minute left on this game before the last one shows up. So we might actually get to see this pig ride a rocket.
No boy.
Because this is the level that goes onto the moon.
Boy.
Yep, you heard me right. They have a level where you go onto a moon, and this pig is wearing a top hat.
Oh, it's Priscilla the pig?
I like to think that it's a British pig.
Probably.
It just like it probably has a monocle somewhere along with its top hat.
Well, interestingly, yeah, I know. It's so odd to see games like this, and
Well, it's just
especially a racing game.
well, it like the question that raises in my head is why does this exist? Oh yeah, there we go.
Rocket. Why was the rocket attached to a generator?
I don't know.
Also, that rocket, someone screwed up on it.
Yeah, they didn't do that right.
This is so ridiculous.
I know. Yep. And how many times have you seen a fully complete NASA rocket on the moon? Not just like a lander. That's a complete rocket with booster and fuel tanks.
Usually those are on the other side.
Yes, those are the things that get the craft into space. They don't go with it.
Ooh. Also, there's a bird on the moon.
Yeah, and it's pooping.
Really?
Yeah, that's an obstacle. Bird poo's an obstacle.
Again, put effort in your game. I won't mind.
Yeah.
Don't care what religion. Just put fucking effort in.
Yeah, just put some effort into it. Like, I've seen some like indie projects that with some proper support could be like really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this that has no business existing.
No, and that's where it comes down to. That's gonna need
Oh,
to be cut.
yep, here
Here
we
we go.
So yes, this is
This is mine.
Yes.
I spent money on it.
yeah. So do not adjust your set, people. You are not getting high. This is a game about racing on toilets.
The moment I saw this, I'm like, this cannot exist. And then like I saw the footage and I saw it on Steam. And by the way, so that little booster thing, so that meter at the bottom fills up.
Mm-hmm.
And basically once it hits that little red marker, you can activate a boost, but you need to make sure you hit that red marker. Because if you don't, it will send you into space.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's just there's so much that can be said about this game. Like you're throwing toilet paper, there's a bunch of people riding toilets just through city streets, and there's you can be shot into space if you overboost.
It's just really such a weird game. It's just like the physics don't work really well. It's not particularly hard to play. It doesn't have that nasty feeling of being out of control completely. I say that as I crash into the wall.
Flawless timing.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing about it is that it's a game it's from a Japanese.
Yeah, that's a bit of an awkward situation.
It's a Japanese English or it's a Japanese English. It's a Japanese.
Dare I ask
company.
where that plunger's attached?
We're not going to talk about it.
we had to cut that out the original video.
Yeah, that was bad time. So and basically, I saw the game. I went, okay, I'm gonna check it out. Toilet racing. Oh, how much is it on Steam? It was like $5.
Yeah.
Don't waste your money, but it wasn't too much of a waste for me. It was a waste of money. But I do things for the channel, and it was just so weird. And then like you get these collectible cards through a gacha mechanic because you get in-game currency. But the problem is you're never taught that, and I don't know what made me slow down. Like that's still one concept I don't understand.
I'm assuming that must have been a status effect.
It had to have been. So you slow down, or you get in-game money, and you go to this like one area in a bathroom, and you give them the money, and it give the in-game money.
Yeah.
This is it right here, and you get gacha cards. So the biggest issue is this game is completely in Japanese. And I'm in the process of trying to learn Japanese through Duolingo. No, not advertising. That's just what I'm doing.
We're not sponsored.
Yeah. But like, oh yeah, here we go. Wait for it.
Yeah,
And
off we go.
This was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, when we all saw this, when you was trying it out, we just absolutely lost our shit. Pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the game. You don't know what's going on. Like it has partial English to it.
Let me just see if I can just get that as like the end screen and just leave that up for a little bit while we reflect. Because I just love the idea of just having the end screen just be a man on a toilet in space. So, yeah, off we go. And there he is. Yep, there we go. So I'll just pause it there. So yes, right, yeah. So carry on with your point.
And that's the thing, is you don't understand what's going on. It's got Xbox controller support apparently.
They actually put in the effort to put Xbox controller support into a game about racing toilets.
And it had enough for me to understand how the game works, but then absolutely decided not to translate anything else. It's available on Steam internationally, but it does not have an English patch.
Nope. Like, if you were to play this now, you could go to Steam and buy it. Why you'd want to, I have no idea.
Yeah, I only did this because it was on a list. Don't waste your money. Go play Mario Kart.
Yeah, there are seriously better games to be playing.
Play Need for Speed. Play something that is worth your money.
Yeah.
Don't play this.
I should think probably a lot of the games that ended up on the list were games I wouldn't recommend purchasing.
You see, the Shrek one was not so bad. That one was okay.
I can see people actually going out and buying that.
But like the rest of them, not particularly. I wouldn't waste the time.
Oh, we had a Toy Story Racer on there as well, and that had a really interesting audio bug in it.
the pitch I think it was like Woody or Buzz. Like
It was both. It's like appears to be knows. Hi, they're intelligent life anywhere.
Oh, it was such a fun. Like I didn't work too much on this specific project, but what little I did and what little I did witness, it was a blast.
Oh yeah, like I and sometimes I also like these games like play like a bag of dead hedgehogs. But I love playing like some of these really weird and garbagey games. Like I because I'm not sitting there, I'm not playing it to necessarily enjoy the game. I'm playing it because I'm laughing at it.
Well, and it also gives you a new appreciation
Yeah.
for games that are better. Like I'm a Yakuza fan. Like you ask anybody on the team, that is one of the topics that I enjoy talking about is
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza, Ryuga Gotoku, Sega. Um, and I appreciate the series because there has not been a single bad game. And I appreciate every game that I have played.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, there are games that are better than others, but that's the point is there's not a single game that I could consider awful.
Well, I say that there's a certain level of objectiveness between a good and a bad game. There are games that have certain preferences, but then there are games that can be described as objectively bad based on certain criteria.
Well, and I brought this up with you because someone had asked us if we could do like a best games list, and the only thing I could say because it's such a broad topic.
Yeah.
That I really all I could say is it is easier to determine whether a game is bad than whether a game is great.
Well, the ultimate problem we run into with good games is you can have functionally capable games, and then it just comes down to personal preference of what makes it good.
Yeah.
There are people out there that say Ocarina of Time is a pile of shit.
Yes.
And I've nothing against those people. I just think Ocarina of Time was a glorious game.
And on the other hand, I do not think it was the best game. I think it was a great game. But
Oh yeah, I don't think it was the best
Zelda
one.
game. For me, like my favorite Zelda games are the Oracle games. And it surprises people that I say that. Because I put in the fact that it is the first set of games Capcom worked on. Because Capcom went in as a developer for that.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote a full-fledged story with characters that you remember when you play them.
Yes. Which is something that Zelda isn't often known for outside of the main cast.
Exactly. You'll remember a select few characters from Ocarina of Time, like Mido may be like one of the few ones that you remember. But then like there are other characters you don't really remember much, like the Carpenters, for example, you don't remember them. But every single character in the Oracle games has a story to them. Even the minor ones. They have such interesting character development.
Yeah, see that I like. I like effort being put into making the characters and the world feel alive, like rather than just a bunch of NPCs just running a routine.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to is what makes a game good, or what makes a game great, I should say, is really subjective.
Yeah.
That can't be said for bad games. It's not subjective.
A great example of subjectiveness for games is if you was to compare, like, Doom, the recent Doom games to Doom 3.
Yes.
Like, and in the Doom community, Doom 3 is seen as a black sheep and not really a Doom game. But for someone like me, it was a fantastic game, but I recognise that it's not a quote-unquote Doom game.
So that's what makes those lists really hard, is saying whether a game is the best game.
Yes.
And that's probably one of the reasons why you will never see that type of list.
No, you generally won't see something like that because it's heavily subjective based on individual criteria as what defines a best game. It's like when they have those awards for like best game. It's like, well, that's best. Like that's really subjective in my mind because a lot of elements make a best game, and so, some of the ones that show up on those best game lists, I look at it and think I didn't even bat an eyelid at that.
Yeah. Like some people like Forza. I'm not a particular Forza fan.
Never played it. So I know a lot of people like God of War or like Gears of War. Never touched either of them. Well, I played a God of War game, but only because the team required me to.
I've played a few. I've played God of War 1, 2, and 3. I never really got into the later ones, and it wasn't my game.
Yeah, like I think the only kind of game I used to play that was like that was in the older days when I played like Devil May Cry. But even then, I sort of fell out of that rather quickly, and like I've never been into like some of the like modern military shooters. I haven't been into like many of the cover shooters like Gears of War. And there's now probably a bunch of people out there sharpening their carbon fiber knives.
So well, they want to sharpen the knives, as you can just hear me say. I have never been a fan of modern military story shooters. I don't mind Siege, because Siege is a little more of a competitive game. Rainbow Six Siege does not have as much of a story as it does have a lore. But it doesn't have too much of a story. But I'm not a fan of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I'm not a fan of Advanced Warfare. I'm not a fan of the Call of Duty games that take place after World War II. I have always been a World War II Call of Duty person, and that's not gonna change. And I admire the games. They're just not for me.
Yeah. I can respect their existence. I can respect that they have a following and that they are functionally capable. They're just not, and that's something that a lot of people seem to not understand. Is you can have functionally capable games, but they're still not good in my eyes. Whereas you can have games that are maybe not quite as functionally capable, but I still love them.
And let me give another good example of a game where I just absolutely am not particularly fond of, but I respect it as a game. And that is Breath of the Wild. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I am not fond of that game. There is a whole cult following on it, and I can understand that.
And they're now preparing their fake Master Swords.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. I got mine somewhere in the apartment.
My girlfriend's got a katana.
I'm very much a classic Zelda fan. And when I first played Breath of the Wild, the only thing I could say is this reminds me a little too much of an over-the-shoulder Skyrim.
I can understand where you're coming from there.
Nothing against Skyrim. I think Skyrim is a great game. Not my cup of tea, but with Breath of the Wild, comparing Breath of the Wild to Skyrim is less empty. Breath of the Wild, there are long periods of time of just walking and nothing happening.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard from people who have played it, I think that's been a common point of contention, is just like the how alive the world was. Because you can have a big ass world to play in, but if there's nothing in it, it's literally just a sandbox with no sand.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I've got this lovely area that is mine to play in, but there's nothing to do in it. And I quite enjoyed Breath of the Wild. I do accept the criticisms that it has. I never finished it because I was kind of lost interest, and that kind of says something right there.
Yeah.
I think it was a bold step in a different direction for the Zelda franchise, moving away from the original formula, and it was a bit polarizing. People who liked it loved it. People who
didn't like it
just lost interest.
Just completely did not want to play it.
Yeah, I'm sure the same will happen when Tears of the Kingdom comes out.
Yeah.
Which now I've said that, I've effectively dated the episode.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
Either way, great gaming is subjective.
Yes. Bad gaming is objective.
Yes. You will know when a game is a bad game.
Yeah. You can often tell either graphically, gameplay, control, story, audio. Like there are measurable elements that can determine a game to be bad or dysfunctional. Whereas when you get a game to be functional and even good, then it becomes subjective as to what makes it good, great, excellent, like epic, legendary. Like people would look at like Undertale. Graphically, it's very basic.
It's one of the most basic
Yes.
graphical RPGs you'll find out there. That being said, the story is probably one of my favorite stories I have ever. In this case, I've watched because I've never played it myself.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. You know what? I'm okay with saying it's a decent game.
I sat down and played it myself. I played through all of the routes. I love like basically all the characters in it. They all have such life to them. The controls are quite slick and easy to use. The audio is fantastic. I mean, I can never get enough of Megalomania.
I don't think anybody can get enough of Megalomania.
Oh god, yeah. I've got that on my phone. I love that audio track. It's the best one in my mind.
Could just send you a text message and all you hear is Megalomania coming out.
It's not my ringtone. I just have it on my phone because I love to play the audio back to myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And like I say, like graphically, it's very basic, but a game doesn't have to be graphically superior to be a great game. It used all the elements that were in it, and it used them to its fullest.
Yes.
And that's an example of a great game. Many of the ones that we just saw here had boundless potential to work with, but they didn't utilize it.
No, they didn't.
And I feel like we could ramble on on about this for like several hours, but I think we should wrap this up. It's gone on for getting up to about an hour and a half.
Well, it was great talking and rewatching the footage that we did, and
yeah, I might do another one of these before long because I want to try and get back into doing these again.
Well, and because we're starting to release videos more often,
Well, I mean, I've got like reams of content that I can go over. I had to actually delete a bunch off because I'd filled up my hard drive. That's how much I've got. Like, I've got so much stuff that I can work with. It's just it's having the time and energy to sit down and do it because I want to focus my efforts on putting stuff together for the team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'm gonna be doing my own thing in a bit.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess that's it then.
Yep, that's it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the quad damage of strange racing games. This was an interesting list to work on, and I hope you enjoyed the weirdness that we had to endure for your entertainment.
That's really what it's about.
Thank you for joining me, Azul, on this bizarre adventure.
No problem.
Yes, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video whenever I can be asked to do it.
Take care.
Yeah, bye folks.